I've already told everybody Happy New Year, but I'll say it again. Happy New Year. It is a new year. I think all of us were ready for 2020 to be over, but despite the fact that we're into 2021, we're going to be where we are for quite a while. I mean, this is not going away anytime soon. It's going to take a while to get these vaccines rolled out. I've told you before, since the election in the States, I listened to a lot of American news. I still listen to American news every day. And President Trump had promised 20 million vaccines by the end of the year. They got 2 million. So it's not rolling out nearly as fast. So I think we're doing fairly well over here. And having a second vaccine now is going to help, I think. So it's good to see you here this morning. We have 9 people, so tier 4, that's pretty good. New Year's Hogmanay was a bit quiet this year. The only other quiet one I remember, I think it was 1997. I think it was 97. Artie and I were ill over Christmas. Colin and Jane were in the process of moving up to work with us in Clydebank, and Ian and Gina, of course, were working with us. And we had to stay home that day, or stay home that year because we were so ill. And Bethany was cooking for us. So the big flu going around that year. So we stayed home, we watched films, and then we turned over to the BBC broadcast. I must admit, I enjoyed seeing, I don't know if you saw this, the fireworks over the Wallace Monument in Stirling. It was lovely. And so I watched that for a little while, and they had several, found these 2 pictures online of it, and it was nice seeing that fireworks over the Wallace Monument, and it went from 2020 to 2021. It was about a minute late, to be totally honest, on television, but beside the point. Ran across in some of the things I read during the day, during the week, a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And he wrote this: "Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ringing happy bells across the snow." That's very true for us this year, isn't it? The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. And I like the thoughts of that particular poem because it talks about getting rid of some things and taking on some things. And as we come into a new year every year, that's where my thoughts go. Some things we need to get rid of. There's some things we need to keep doing or start doing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that this morning. I have enjoyed the snow that we've had. Enjoyed it a lot more before it warmed up just a little bit and melted on the paths, and then it froze solid. And now as I'm doing my walks in the morning, even out by the Calder River, that dirt path is a sheet of ice. And so you got to be really careful walking. So I was able to get closer to my normal times walking this morning. Some of these mornings have been really slow compared to what I normally do. I have gotten up to about just below a 16-minute mile now walking. So I'm very pleased with myself. But I had a 19.5-minute mile a couple of days ago because I couldn't get going without slipping. And I've so far not fallen, so I don't want to fall. But I have enjoyed seeing, especially when the sun's out, the snow looks so gorgeous. That was the day that we got the snow that was coming down on top of the snow that we had. Enjoyed that as well. But 2021, so many ways it's a year of hope. I think with this virus, it's definitely a year of hope that we'll start coming out of a lot of what we've had to live through. But the question I want to consider this morning is, what are our plans for the new year? What are our plans? And a verse that came to mind as I was thinking about this is Luke chapter 2, verse 52, speaking about Jesus. Jesus kept increasing in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and people. You know, I thought, if that's the way Jesus molded his life, shouldn't we be doing that? Aren't these the areas that we need to be emphasizing in our lives? So this is what I want to look at this morning. And we're going to ask some questions. Number one, have we grown at all during 2020 in these areas? And what are our plans to grow in these areas in 2021? Wisdom. Um, wisdom. Wisdom is not the same as knowledge. I think we realize that, don't we? Wisdom and knowledge. Having the Lord's Supper just before I speak is never good for my voice. But wisdom is not the same as knowledge. But wisdom does rely on knowledge. There is a connection between the two. Both are important. I've always liked Ian's quote since the first time he gave it. And I do love it, the first time I heard it. Knowledge tells us that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom tells us we don't put it in a fruit salad. That's so true, isn't it? I can't imagine having a tomato in a fruit salad. That just wouldn't quite do. But wisdom and knowledge, they're so connected. And if you read through the Proverbs, you'll discover lots of proverbs about wisdom and knowledge. I found several online that I'm going to throw up on the screen here. Proverbs 1:22. How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. We don't want to be a fool, do we? So don't hate knowledge. Chapter 2, verse 6. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Notice that connection, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. As per Proverbs 10:14, the wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool brings ruin. This next one, the slide did not load, so I'm going to skip over it very quickly. There we go. Get back there. The heart of the discerning, Proverbs 18:15, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. Again, that wise, wisdom, knowledge connection. Proverbs 22:7, beginning of verse 17. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your mind to my knowledge. For it will be pleasant if you keep them within you, that they may be ready on your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. I have taught you today, even you. A lot of good thoughts in those verses there from Proverbs. Again, that wisdom, that knowledge connection. But notice in verse 19, we pursue wisdom, we pursue knowledge, so that your trust may be in the Lord. It's all about how we serve Jesus. It's not wisdom for wisdom's sake. It's not knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's knowledge and wisdom to bring us closer to God. And that's why it is important. So, if we're going to grow in wisdom, we're going to have to be growing in knowledge as well. And for me, that means books are necessary. Or however else you acquire knowledge. How did you do last year? Did you grow in wisdom? Did you grow in knowledge? Did you do anything to allow yourself to grow in these areas? I set goals for myself in reading every year. My goal is to read 2 books each month. Well, on average. That would give me 24 in a year. Pleased to say, in 2020, I read 30. It could have been 31. I'm not sure. I read at least 30. Now, having said that, I read, okay? I also listen to books. If you go to christianaudio.com, they give away a free audiobook every month. Some of them are really, really good. And so I always download those, and then I look through my list that I've got, and I listen to try to listen to some of those while I'm out walking. And so that way, not only walking, I'm also listening. I found that very, very useful. So for me, it's books. By the way, just 2019, I only did 24, so I had an increase. I'm very pleased with myself that I got to do that. I do read some fiction as well, but you read from all areas. I find that's useful for me, and that helps me. So my goal for this year is still doing those 2 books a month, if I can. Think about how you can do that. Proverbs 9, verse 10. I think this is the important one on wisdom. For the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Again, makes that spiritual connection with our wisdom and knowledge. Plan to grow in wisdom this year. We'll talk about spiritual wisdom in just a few minutes. What about stature? What about stature? I love that picture of me. It's one of the few. Patty took that one of me. And if you look real close, I don't know if you can see it. I'm standing at John's gate. Jon''S gate. Not me, but I liked it. So somebody who died, his name was Jonathan. This is John's gate. Stature. Really, I think we're talking here about physical health. And at the beginning of the year, when I think about physical health, I think about 2 areas. Number one is my weight and my nutrition, because I think those 2 go hand in hand. And the second thing as well is exercise. And again, all of that goes, I think, hand in hand. That was important to Jesus. He increased in stature. He did those things to allow him to grow physically. So are we doing those things that keep us healthy? By the way, past year, that became very important, didn't it? To stay healthy. And there's certain things you can do that help you stay healthy. One of the things I do is listen to podcasts. Often when I'm cooking, a lot of nutrition podcasts. I've learned a lot about what to eat and what not to eat. How'd you do last year? I know 2 of us did pretty good, Gina. So very pleased that we did that. But exercise. I try to exercise every day. I've been doing that for a number of years now. So I'm enjoying that. In 2019, I walked 630 miles. Now, I know that because my watch records when I do an exercise walk. It records it, and then I can simply, my phone, you can go and see how much you did exercise walks. It's not just walking around the building. This is deliberate walking every day. So that was 2019. This year, 983.8 miles. I want that 1,000 miles in a year. Didn't quite get it. But I tell you, it was really interesting when I was looking at my figures. January last year, I did about between 50 and 60 miles. Lockdown came. Of course, you've been encouraged to get out walking, and it increased to 70, 80, 90. And then December, I did over 100 miles. So it just kept going up. And I'm going to try to increase that, or try to keep that. I'm walking about 55 to 60 minutes a day now. I remember when I first knew I needed to start walking back when I had the weight, and just over 2 years ago, I really started taking this seriously. I thought, how in the world, how can you spend an hour a day walking? I thought, how do you do that? I don't have time for it. So I started at 30 minutes. And 30 minutes became 40 minutes. And then 40 minutes became 45 minutes. Then lockdown, it became 60 minutes. And I've discovered I have time to do it. And so now I just do 60 a day. So I'm hoping that I'm going to top 1,000 miles this year. By the way, I've changed my activity level. If you do these BMI calculators, NHS has one. I used it to do some things there periodically. And I used to be inactive. Inactive is defined as less than 30 minutes per week. Active is 60 or more minutes per week. I'm doing that much in a day. I guess I'm super active. I don't know. But I was shocked to learn that I'm now active and not inactive. I still think of myself as inactive. But anyway, so exercise. Plan to do some exercise this year. Your body will feel better for it. Your body will feel better for it. What about the perennial problem, weight loss? I struggled with that, as you know, for many, many years. 2019, I did lose 2 stone. And so I got down a bit better. But this past year, I managed to lose 3 stone. In fact, I managed to lose that by July. So July to December has been static. Having said that, it's static. So, although one thing I have noticed is that I think those 3 or 4 months have been useful with my body adjusting, because I'm now wearing things that I could not wear in July, and I've not lost any weight, but I think my body's adjusted better to it. And so, yeah, my goal, by the way, for 2021 is to lose two more stone. That's my goal. The reason being is, I calculate my BMI, I'm still overweight. I want to say I am normal and healthy. And so I've got to lose 2 stone to do that. So that's my goal, to get down there, which will be the weight I was at when I was a student at Freed Hardeman. And so when I was 18. So that's my goal. That's my goal. By the way, what has helped me lose weight more than anything? Getting a diagnosis of prediabetes in February, and then getting this virus exploding in March. And what's one of the bad categories for getting it? Diabetes, prediabetes. That's a wake-up call. So yeah, that's what I really started working on all this. And the doctor told me, low carb, John, low carb. And so I'm still low carb as a whole. I've increased a lot more, a bit more than over Christmas. I've not super increased, but I did increase some, so it's going to cut back down. And there is some good apps out there that help as well when you record things, and that's what I use as well. So my goal, starting this week and next week, is to get back down to a very, very regimented eating plan, so I can try to get that down. Set some goals. They are achievable. I have discovered they are achievable. Third thing, favor with God. Favor with God. I think this is talking about spiritual growth. I think that's the only thing I can think of that's talking about. When you think about spiritual growth, again, there's 2 areas in my mind that I think are all about spiritual growth. You're going to have to be in the Bible, reading and studying, if you're going to grow spiritually. You cannot grow spiritually accidentally. It does not happen. You're going to have to do something. So it's going to take some Bible reading, some Bible study. I think akin to that as well is what we do together, our worship together, our Bible study together. I think that's important as well. So again, the question, how'd you do last year? Again, I'm a person that loves lists. I'm a person that clocks everything. Got that from my dad, who got it from his dad, who probably got it from his dad. It's just one of those things that's been handed down. So one of my goals every year is to at least read the Bible through. And I was successful. I notice I put a plus on the end. I told the congregation here last year that I've switched to a reading plan where I read 10 chapters a day from 10 sections of the Bible. Actually, I'm doing it slightly differently, but still over the week, that's what I do. 10 sections from the Bible and 10 chapters, or 5 chapters from each section, so it's 50 chapters a week. I only read Monday through Friday because often I fall behind, and so Saturday and Sundays my catch-up days, so I can make sure I can maintain that. So 10 chapters a day from 10 different sections on average is what I've been doing. So I finished the Old Testament, the entire Old Testament last year. I read the Net Bible. Is the one I finished. I've read bits and bobs from several other places as well. But the Net Bible. And I can tell you, Net Bible is a pretty good translation. If you know my lessons, I use Net Bible quite a bit because it's one that I like. It's more modern English. It's got some drawbacks in that sometimes they're trying to explain things and maybe explaining it too much. But overall, it's a very, very readable, a very, very useful translation. I managed to finish the New Testament 3 times during that year. So the translations I finished in were the New Century Version. I don't know if you've heard about that one. That one came out in the year 2000. It's a pretty good translation. It's got a couple drawbacks because you notice I don't use it, but it's fairly good. The Christian Standard Bible is one that came out in 2019, revision of the Holman Christian Standard Bible. I like it, and I use it a bit, and occasionally you'll see something crop up. When I'm looking what text I'm going to use in my lessons, I go to the Christian Standard Bible to see what it says. I found it useful. Also read the New Testament through the Jerusalem Bible. Jerusalem Bible, 1965 it came out. It's had 2 revisions, but I'll get to those later. It's a Catholic translation. So I managed to read through the New Testament in the Jerusalem Bible. And one thing I did as well was I read the Apocrypha. Because I was reading the Common English Bible, I read the Apocrypha through in the Common English Bible. The Apocrypha is an interesting read. I liked it. I got more out of it. This is my 3rd time reading through it. I got more out of it this time. And it may be because I can understand more about the history of when this developed, because it's really from that intertestamental period between the end of Malachi and the beginning of Matthew. And so it was interesting. Some of the history is really quite good. So I encourage you, set a challenge for 2021. It can be anything, but set a challenge to spend time with God's Word. I'd say at least 5 days a week. Do 7, that's good too. But maybe it's 10 minutes a day. Maybe it's more than that. 10 minutes is not a lot of time. But if you read the Bible 10 minutes a day, you'll finish the New Testament in a year without problem. 10 minutes a day, it's all it takes. So you can do a lot with that. Or maybe set a challenge of 1 chapter a day or more. If you read New Testament through 1 chapter a day, you'll finish in a year as well. It's not difficult to do those sorts of things. I would challenge you to do that. The other idea in our worship and Bible study, those are important as well. Yes, what we do personally is important. That's going to help our own spiritual growth. I've heard some Christians maintain, I'll do all my study on my own. I'm not going to come to public worship. I will not be here because I don't need it. I don't want you all messing up my thoughts. I've heard that. But we grow when we study things together. Because I'm not going to have all the thoughts. Other people will have the thoughts that may spur me on. And that's why collective Bible study is important. I think we need to be doing that. We'll gain a lot further insights than others. Solomon realized that. One of the Proverbs, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That tells you that you're not going to have all the thoughts yourselves. By the way, I've heard some evangelists, even in this country, even say, when I teach a class, I don't go to commentaries. Commentaries are a waste of time. I just read the text and I teach it. Commentaries those guys have knowledge that I don't have. They have information that I don't have. That's why we have them. They're not authoritative Word of God, of course not, but they are important. For the last few years in our worship, I've been trying to plan my Sunday lessons around what I think we need as a group. This past year, it was Fix Your Eyes on Jesus, and I thought it was useful to learn from Jesus, to get him, what he taught, what he did in our minds. And I hope those lessons helped us get a picture of Jesus. So where am I going to go for 2021? My plan is to concentrate on applying what we've learned about Jesus. And we might call that discipleship. Learning to be a disciple. Learning to be like Jesus. Learning to live like Jesus. And there's one book in the New Testament that in my mind centers on that. And that's where I plan to take my lessons for this coming year. and that is the gospel or the letter of James. So I plan to be in James this year. Being disciple, I'm calling it learning to think different. It's not original with me. Patty used that when he taught James for the Bible school last year. But learning to think different. To me, being a disciple of Jesus is all about learning to think different. So often we emphasize we need to change what we do. And we do, by the way, we do. But it's not just changing what we do, it's learning to think different, because if we can change how we think, that will take care of what we're doing. That's getting into my lesson for next week, so I'm not going to go any further with that. But yeah, so learning to think different, getting wisdom from James. I usually select a couple verses to emphasize through the year. I've not done that yet. I'll do that before next Sunday, I'm pretty sure. But my plan is to present somewhere between 24 and 30 lessons from the letter of James, as we see what it means to be a disciple. I know I've already got 20 outlines. I did that years ago when I taught James the first time. So, but I'm not sure how many times I'm going to be speaking this year, because I'll be sharing this once we're able to get this merger complete, and sharing this with Alec, and so I get to cut back some. So I'm looking forward to that, because there's be time to research other things. So somewhere between 24 and 30 lessons, hopefully we'll have on that. In our Bible classes, right now Bob's been teaching Sunday class on 1 Thessalonians. I've been teaching Wednesday class on Revelation. With the merger with West Main, some of that's going to change. Has to change. I would like to see Bob finish his series, and I plan to finish mine on Revelation, and then we'll see where we go from there. In our discussion, Alec and I have been talking. I think I'll probably end up keeping the Wednesday class. Alec may shift into the Sunday morning class, which will be good too. So that's not a problem right now. But once we're able to be with people again, plan to be involved in Sunday class. Plan to be involved in Wednesday class. I mean, those are important for us to do. In the meantime, we can still be part of classes online. I'll encourage everybody, be part of a class online every week, because there's lots of options to choose from. We've got the British Bible School has evening classes. They're going to start tomorrow night, by the way, because sort of English-based, they don't get the fourth off like we do up here. So they're going we're going to start that tomorrow. And it's the way Jack Payton, he's teaching 1 Peter. I've heard him do it before. It's good. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And I'm going to be teaching Daniel on Thursday evenings. And so that's very, very, very useful. So if you can be part of either one of those classes, please do so. Alec is going to continue, even after we merge, hosting classes online on Zoom on Sunday evenings and Tuesday evenings. Be part of those. Be part of something, because that would be very useful for our own spiritual growth. The last area is favor with people. I think we're here talking about fellowship. We're talking about interaction. Fellowship with God's family here, obviously, and with God's family across the country or across the world, wherever we happen to be. And involvement in the community, involvement with those who are not Christians. Fellowship with Christians. The first thing we often think about, and by the way, I don't think it's a bad thing to think about, is potluck meals. Man, those are good. Those really are good. And Alec and I have already been talking about this, because we've got to do something as soon as we can do it. We can't do it immediately. Something to bring these two groups together. And there's nothing better than doing that than sharing meals together. So we're going to have fellowship meals this year. That's one of the plans that we're making. So that's one thing we'll be doing. But what about our own special meetings or just special get-togethers that we'll plan? And we'll plan some of those. Try to be part of those. They help to create fellowship amongst Christians, as well as attending what's going on in other congregations. And that's useful. And we'll plan on continuing to do those. I can tell you that one of the things that's going to be going on starting on Thursday night this week at 7 o'clock, it does not there's not conflict with my class at 8 o'clock, is Cumbernaulds going to be hosting a series of lessons at 7 o'clock. And it's called a 12-week winter series, they're going to call it. I'm doing one of the lessons. And all the lessons are from Nehemiah. It's going to be speakers from wherever. So I know David Murray's doing some, Jack Payton's doing some. I'm going to be involved in that. So that's something to think about. As soon as I get a blurb from them, I'll put up on the screen to remind us, and it reminds us of who's speaking each week. But that's going to be on Zoom at 7 o'clock on Thursday evenings. And of course, retreats. Be a part of a retreat. There's the women's retreat. There's the British Bible School family retreats. It's just so good to have that interaction. We've had to miss the British Bible School when we do down south in September. We've already canceled the one in January because there's no way we're going to be able to get together. No way we can crab, think about it, Isabel, 70 people into that one small room. It's about a room about this size, and we cram 70 people into it. So there's no way we can do that. But when we can have those are good to do as well. But as well as our involvement in the community. And one thing I'm very pleased is we've got groups using the building. That has really raised our profile a lot. And we now interact with a lot of groups. And that's very, very useful. But we need to find other ways that we can be involved in the community. And with the merger, hopefully we'll get some more new ideas on how to do that. So the question I want to leave us with, what will we do with 2021? Are we going to grow stronger as a disciple of Jesus during this year? Or will we even still be a disciple of Jesus this time next year? Sadly, we had people that were part of this congregation this time last year that are not today, that have contacted me during the virus and said, I'm not coming back. We'll talk more about that some other time. But if we're planning to grow, if we want to grow, we need to plan to grow. Growth just doesn't happen by accident. We don't sort of absorb it. We've got to do something if we're going to grow. One thing we need to be aware of is there's going to be a lot of changes this year. 2021 is going to be a year of change, without a doubt. We've got the vaccine rollout, and so that's going to hopefully change our interaction. But having said that, and this is one thing I keep hearing on the health experts, is COVID-19 is not going to go away. Even with the vaccines, COVID-19 will still be here. So we're still going to have to deal with this. Masks, I heard this just this past week, it looks like masks are going to become a part of our life. That if there's a resurgence, we're going to have our masks again. And the idea, one thing they're discovering is these vaccines aren't going to last forever. I'm wondering if when we get our flu jab, now that I qualify, we get our flu jab, if we'll get a COVID-19 top up as part of that. I don't know. But this is something that's going to be with us now probably for the rest of our lives. And we just need to be aware of that. So things are going to change, but it's going to be nice to be able to socialize again. I must admit that. It's going to be nice to be able to be more involved with things going on. But one thing that's going to produce change as well is merging with West Mains. That's going to change the way we do some things. Now, right now, it won't because we can't do anything except for what we're doing, and this formula seems to work, so we're going to keep doing this. But there's going to be some changes. Be ready for the changes, and don't see them as something negative. See a change as an opportunity, because that's the way we go forward. That's the way we grow, and changes are opportunities. But plan to become a stronger disciple of Jesus this year. Make plans. I've been making my plans. Make plans that we each will grow individually, and you can only make plans for that. And then we will collectively plan ways that we can all grow together, that we can facilitate here. I want to close with a song that we sang, I think, for the first time last year. It's a New Year's song. Used a familiar tune to it. It's called Great God, We Sing Your Mighty Hand. You probably don't remember it. because I didn't even remember it, but I found that I had it. So it's written by Philip Doddridge. Now, I was familiar with that name. He wrote this in 1755. Needless to say, it's out of copyright. Doddridge was born in 1702, so he lived a long time ago. He belonged to the nonconformist church. That is, he's born in London, by the way. Nonconformist churches were those that were not associated with the Church of England. And if you're familiar with that whole era of history, they couldn't worship within the towns. They had to have their buildings outside the town limits because only Church of England could be in town. And so nonconformists had to be outside at that point in time. He, by the way, was offered an education by a rich patron to prepare him to become a Church of England minister, whatever they call their preachers. He refused. He chose instead to remain nonconformist. I thought, good for him. So he did all that. For 20 years, he served a poor parish in Northampton. And I know Mark Hill is planning to take me around some of the Doddridge places in Northampton at some point, whenever I get back down to Northampton again. But he even opened an academy for training nonconformist ministers, taught most of the subjects himself. So he's obviously a very well-learned man. He suffered from tuberculosis, and one of his patrons, a lady named Lady Huntington, offered to finance a trip to Lisbon for his health. And he is reputed to have said, "I can as well go to heaven from Lisbon as from Northampton." So he moved to Portugal, and he died soon after his arrival in 1751. Now, if you notice, 1755 is the date on this song. This is the date it was published. Okay. He died at age 49, by the way. He wrote around 400 hymn texts, didn't write the music. And generally, he wrote those to accompany his sermons. I thought that's a good thing to do. Most were published posthumously. Most were published after his death. Relatively few are still sung today. So they're not things that have lasted too much, which I think in many ways is quite sad, because it is quite, some of them are quite good. The one that you will know that he wrote, "Oh Happy Day," that's Philip Doddridge. So we have, I think, 4 songs in praise for the Lord that he wrote. I knew 2 of them. I don't think it's one of them that we don't sing. Anyway, the words to this one, this was a New Year's hymn. And the words go this way. "Great God, we sing that mighty hand by which supported still we stand. The opening year your mercy shows, that mercy crowns it till it close." I like that thought. Open with mercy, but we're going to need it at the end as well. "By day, by night, at home, abroad, still are we guarded by our God, by his incessant bounty fed, by his unerring counsel led. With grateful hearts the past we own, the future all to us unknown. We to your guardian care commit, and peaceful leave before your feet. In scenes exalted or depressed, you are our joy and you our rest. Your goodness all our hopes shall raise, adored through all our changing days." And the last verse, which we didn't sing last year, "When death shall interrupt these songs and seal in silence mortal tongues, our helper God in whom we trust shall keep our souls and guard our dust." Sort of like that one as well. But maybe in the year we've just went through, that may be a bit more poignant, as so many have died. Whether we're here or whether we're there next year, let's have a good year. Let's pray. Father, we are thankful for another new year. We're thankful that this year is a year that looks hopeful. And we look forward, Father, to the changes that are going to come this year. We ask you to bless the merger of the 2 congregations, that this will go smoothly, that we will cooperate with each other. We'll learn to love each other. Help us, Father, that we can become one body for you. We're thankful, Father, for the changes that are going to happen with the virus. We look forward, Father, to it being suppressed. And help us, Father, though, to continue to be patient, to continue doing those things that will protect us and protect others from us. Be with us through this coming week. It's cold. It's going to stay cold from what we understand, but Father, keep us safe. Help us, Father, that we'll spend this week in ways that will help us to grow stronger in our faith, stronger in our hope, stronger in our love for you, stronger in our love for each other. Be with us throughout this week and all that we do. We ask this through Jesus. Amen.